Kamusta? My name is Victor. In today's video, we are going to review 3 of the lenses from the Jupiter Cine lens set, and that I've had the 50mm for over 6 months now, and recently I've gotten the 24 and the 75 as well. Now they're releasing 2 new lenses, which is the 75mm and the 100mm, and the original 3 was the 24, 35, and the 50, and all 3 are at T2. Now these are macro lenses, but that doesn't mean that you can't use them as normal lenses. I've used these lenses for professional work, my beauty commercials, my product videos, and for corporate as well, and they just are a good budget option in terms of full frame cine glass. We're going to cover testing and examples so that you guys know what the performance is in terms of the good and the bad of these lenses. So in terms of the image quality department, these lenses offer a sharp and clinical look. There's not a lot of character in these lenses because they are precise, and it offers you a clean slate so that you can push the grade however you want. Now, in addition for it to being neutral, the highlight roll-offs I really enjoy, especially with the 50mm right here. I use this a lot for my beauty work, and that it renders pleasing skin tones, at least in my opinion, especially with the 50mm. Now, if you're shooting outdoors and you're relying on natural lighting, these render good colors as well, and I find no issues with them using it outdoors. Color consistency. This is one of the most important things to look out for when investing in a cine lens set. Now, with these 3 lenses that I have, the 24 seems to have the most pleasing skin tones out of the 3. The 50mm is about greenish and a tad warmer. You can see this on my skin tones and also on the stickers. And the 75mm seems to lie right in the middle. These 3 lenses aren't consistent at all, and you'd have to color correct in post. Now let's talk about the macro capabilities of these lenses. These are great budget options, especially if you're just starting to invest in a set, and that it offers you quite a range for what it is. Now, I did find a few issues with them, and they might not be deal breakers for you, but it's just something that I've noticed. So let's start off with this lens right here, the 24mm, and I find that the minimum focus distance of this guy isn't close enough for it to be considered as macro. Now, it is closer than usual 24mm lenses, but I just wish that this was a little bit closer so we get that super wide macro view. The 50 is my favorite, and I didn't have any issues. I think the macro capabilities of the 50 is good enough. And on the new 75mm, I've also had issues with it, especially with the minimum focus distance. No matter what lighting setup I put this lens within its minimum focus distance, it was flaring like crazy. I think it's just the lens elements that they put inside. It's a tube, and that if you really focus it super close onto the minimum focus distance, it's very close to the front element so that it really just flares whatever you put in it. Doesn't matter if you have enough lighting. It doesn't matter if you're blasting light on it. Doesn't matter if you're just using appropriate lighting. It'll flare no matter what. Now, I've told Sirui this, and I have returned my test unit. They're sending me a new one, but unfortunately it's not going to arrive before I release this review. Once that new test unit comes in, I'll do my testing again and see if any results change. I'll keep you guys posted in the pinned comment down below. Another thing I've noticed in terms of macro stuff, and especially for cine lens set, that the first 3, the 24, the 35, and the 50, they don't have macro magnification markers, whereas the 75 and the 50 do have them. Now, I have no idea what magnification ratio I'm in, especially if I'm just using the 50 or the 24, and I don't even know what the actual magnification ratio of these lenses are. I think they're 1:1. It kind of looks like it, but I'm not so sure. They don't even say it on the website as well. So we're kind of in the dark with that one. But if you're a macro expert, feel free to let me know what kind of macro ratio it is. I'll also double check with them. And again, I'll update you guys in the pinned comment. Let's jump into focus breathing, and these lenses shine in this category. If we're just talking about normal focus distance and not macro level, these lenses exhibit good minimal focus breathing. I'm actually super impressed because, again, these are budget full frame cine lenses and that they have similar performance in focus breathing with the Sirui Nightwalkers as well. That's another great option for APS-C cine lenses. Now, for the focus breathing in the macro side of things, these do kind of good, but you still notice focus breathing. But if you're in the macro range, you're not really pulling focus that much. You're mostly likely to focus on one point and just slowly rack focus if you do need to. And if you do want minimal focus breathing on the macro side, I think you're gonna have to invest in a much more expensive cine lens set for macro stuff. All right, chromatic aberration test. The 24mm is good to go. I don't see a lot, so it's quite decent. For the 50 at T2, you kind of see chromatic aberration, and I'm sort of okay with this because I can fix this in post. But if you're doing macro anyways, you're gonna have to put your T-stop into T8 or even T22. You don't really want a shallow depth of field if you're shooting macro because you're just gonna see a sliver of that object. And with a deeper depth of field, you're gonna see more of that macro shot. And for the 75mm, I forgot to test it before I sent it back, but here are my initial macro shots with it and see if you can spot any chromatic aberration with it. Build quality. It's a heavy build as cine lenses should be, and that it's a full metal construction. The 50's focus gear is super smooth and it dampens closer to the macro side of things. But in terms of consistency, the focus gears aren't consistent throughout because the 24mm, if we do go through the focus gear, it doesn't dampen closer to the macro side. Same goes with the 75, and I don't have any issues with the iris gears on these three lenses. So if you're buying the whole set, it's gonna come with a free carrying case. Now, Sirui did send me the carrying case as well, and I flew it from Taiwan all the way to Toronto. I thought it would be a good test to put cine lenses into your checked-in baggage where you shouldn't actually do it, but I did just for testing's sake. I mean, if you have no options, use nano cases, Pelican cases, and really protect your lenses. So in our case, we put the carrying case inside a suitcase as well. And that when we got back to Toronto, I opened the case, checked out all the lenses, no issues, and it did protect the lenses and it did its job as a carrying case. It's a decent quality hard case, but it's not as good as nano cases or Pelican cases. Another thing is that their logo plate kept falling off of the case, and that's completely fine with me because I can just put my company logo on there or any sticker that I want. So these lenses are only available in two mounts, which is EF and PL mount. If you're a Sony shooter like me, you're gonna need an adapter. What I have here is the PL to E mount, and that I would suggest getting the PL anyways, especially for future proofing your lenses, and especially if you upgrade to actual cinema cameras, they're gonna have PL mounts. And it's just more flexible to adapt in different camera systems. Pricing on this one, the two new lenses, the 75 and the 100, are both $899 on Indiegogo. I think it's at about $1,200 original price. And then the original 3, 24, 35, and 50 are on sale on Indiegogo at $799. And for the PL to E adapter, they're selling it for $119 on Indiegogo. I think they're great value if you use them individually, but as a set, they're lacking on consistency. Now, if you are getting these lenses and you want them to match seamlessly in an efficient way, you can do some initial testing and match them in post in your studio, at home, whatever you want to do your testing, and then match them. And then what you can do is use that preset or LUT and then just apply it to your future jobs. From my testing and experience with this lens set, I will continue to use the 50mm for my beauty jobs, product videos, and corporate work, and then use the 24 and the 75 whenever a project calls for it. If you do have further questions about these lenses, feel free to comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.